The grand hall of the Galactic Summit was brighter and more colorful than any human place Jason Reeves had ever seen. Flags from dozens of worlds fluttered on the walls. Alien leaders in shimmering robes whispered to each other, while humans in sharp uniforms tried to look confident. At the center of it all sat Princess Zyria of the Silari Empire, tall and proud with shining silver skin and golden eyes. Jason was just a corporal, not a diplomat or a leader. He was here as part of Earth's security team. He was supposed to stand quietly and watch, but now, all eyes were on him. How did this happen? It started with a simple game. The summit had been tense, with leaders arguing about trade and security. To break the ice, Princess Zyria suggested a friendly contest, an old Silari board game called Star Lines. The winner's world would get the best spot at the final dinner. The loser had to accept a forfeit, a silly dare chosen by the winner. No one expected Jason to play, but when Earth's ambassador fumbled the pieces, Jason stepped forward to help. He remembered a few rules from a briefing and thought, why not? To everyone's shock, Jason started winning. He played carefully, using logic and a bit of luck. Zyria's eyes widened with respect, then surprise, then a little frustration. The crowd grew silent as the final pieces fell into place. Jason won. There was a moment of silence. Then Zyria laughed, a musical, sparkling sound. She stood, tall and regal, and bowed her head to Jason. "A deal is a deal, human," she said with a smile. "What is your forfeit for me?" Jason's mind raced. He hadn't expected to win, and certainly didn't want to embarrass a princess. But Earth's ambassador, now smiling with relief, leaned over and whispered a suggestion, one that seemed funny and harmless. With a nervous grin, Jason announced, "For 1 week, Princess Zyria must share quarters with me in the human wing of the station. She'll see what life is like for an Earth soldier." The room erupted with laughter and chatter. Some aliens looked shocked, others amused. Zyria's cheeks flushed blue, a sign of surprise in her species, but she kept her head high and nodded. "I accept," she said, her voice ringing out clear. "I will honor the bet. 1 week with the human soldier. I hope you are ready, Corporal Reeves." Jason saluted awkwardly. The bet was sealed. The summit would never be the same. As the crowd began to disperse, Jason felt both proud and terrified. He had just won a game against an alien princess. Now, for the next 7 days, he would have to live with her. What could possibly go wrong? In the distance, Princess Zyria smiled to herself. She liked challenges, and humans, she was starting to think, might be more interesting than anyone had guessed. The next day, the human soldiers' quarters buzzed with rumors. Some said the Silari princess would arrive with her own royal bed. Others joked that Jason would have to sleep on the floor. No one knew what to expect, not even Jason himself. Jason cleaned his room as best as he could. He hid his laundry and straightened his blankets. His quarters were small, with 2 beds, a metal table, and a window looking out into space. It was nothing like the shining palace Zyria was used to. At exactly noon, Princess Zyria arrived, followed by 2 Silari guards who stood as still as statues. Zyria wore a long blue robe that shimmered in the light. She looked around the small room with wide, curious eyes. "This is different," she said, her voice polite but surprised. Jason scratched his head. "Yeah, it's not much, but it's home. You can take the bed by the window if you want." Zyria nodded and placed a small golden case on the bed. When she opened it, the room filled with a soft, sweet smell. She took out a strange, glowing pillow and placed it carefully on the bed. The guards checked every corner of the room. They scanned the air for danger, whispered to each other, then finally left. Now it was just Jason and Zyria. Jason tried to break the ice. "So, do you want a tour? The food in the cafeteria isn't bad, if you like noodles." Zyria looked amused. "I have never eaten noodles. Lead the way, Corporal Reeves." As they walked through the halls, everyone stared. Some humans looked nervous. Others waved, trying to act friendly. Ziria kept her chin high, but Jason could tell she was nervous too. In the cafeteria, Jason grabbed 2 trays. He filled one with spaghetti, garlic bread, and pudding. Ziria watched closely and copied him, though she sniffed everything before tasting. She tried a bite of spaghetti, then blinked in surprise. "It's spicy, but not bad," she said. Jason laughed. "Wait until you try pizza." After lunch, they returned to the room. Ziria took out a glowing device and began meditating. The light from her body turned soft and blue, filling the small space with peace. Jason lay on his bed, pretending to read. He kept stealing glances at Ziria. He couldn't believe he was sharing a room with a princess from another planet. That night, as they prepared to sleep, they argued about the lights. Ziria wanted them dimmed, but Jason liked them off. In the end, they settled on a soft nightlight, casting strange shadows across the room. Lying in their separate beds, they listened to the gentle hum of the space station. Both wondered what the next days would bring. 2 strangers, now roommates by a twist of fate, each secretly hoping things would not be as awkward tomorrow. The first morning together was full of surprises for both Jason and Princess Ziria. The alarm buzzed loudly at 6 o'clock, making Ziria jump. She was used to gentle music and golden sunlight in her palace, not noisy alarms and cold metal floors. Jason quickly got up, stretched, and began his daily push-ups. Ziria watched him with confusion. "Is this a human ritual?" she asked. Jason laughed. "It's called exercise. It keeps us strong." He invited her to try, but Ziria politely declined. Instead, she stood near the window and stretched her arms in a graceful auxiliary greeting. Her skin shimmered with soft light, filling the small room with a calm, blue glow. The first real challenge was the bathroom. Ziria had never used a human shower before. She pressed buttons at random, accidentally turning on the cold water and spraying herself in the face. Jason tried not to laugh, but it was too funny. Finally, he showed her how to adjust the temperature and use the soap. Breakfast was another adventure. Ziria didn't like coffee, but she did enjoy the sweet cereal and the taste of fresh fruit. The human soldiers stared at the princess, but Jason acted like it was normal to have royalty at his table. Back in the room, they decided to set some ground rules. Ziria spoke first, holding herself very straight, as if she were giving a speech. "We must respect each other's privacy. I meditate every evening for 2 hours. During that time, please do not disturb me." Jason nodded. "No problem. I like to listen to music when I wind down, but I'll use headphones. Also, I snore sometimes. Sorry in advance." They agreed to split cleaning duties and take turns with the lights. Ziria made a chart and stuck it to the wall. Jason grinned. "You're very organized, princess." Ziria smiled back. "It is a royal skill." As the days went by, the two slowly began to understand each other. Jason helped Ziria learn how to use the human food replicator. Ziria, in return, showed Jason an auxiliary puzzle game that sharpened his mind. Despite their new friendship, life wasn't always easy. Some soldiers made jokes or whispered behind Jason's back. Ziria faced questions from her own people, who worried she was becoming too human. Sometimes, the differences seemed too big. But every time things got awkward, one of them would make a joke or try something new. One night, when Ziria was meditating and Jason was writing a letter home, a group of curious soldiers knocked on their door. They wanted to see the famous shared room. Instead of getting angry, Ziria invited them in, showing off her glowing pillow and telling stories about auxiliary traditions. The soldiers listened, amazed, and soon, laughter filled the small room. By the end of the 3rd day, Jason and Ziria had learned that respect, and a little humor, could turn even the strangest situation into something special. Their awkward experiment was slowly becoming a real friendship. One day, and one small adventure at a time. The fourth day started out like any other. Jason and Ziria woke up early, joked about who would get to the bathroom first, and ate breakfast together in the crowded cafeteria. But as they walked back to their quarters, Jason noticed something strange. Two maintenance workers, wearing hats too big for their heads, were hanging around near the air vents. They looked nervous and avoided eye contact. "Do you know them?" Jason whispered. Ziria shook her head. "They are not from my crew." Jason's instincts from years of military training kicked in. He made a mental note but said nothing. The rest of the morning passed quietly. Ziria practiced her meditation, and Jason trained with the other soldiers. But the odd feeling stayed with him. That afternoon, Jason invited Ziria to join him on a routine security check. She agreed, excited for a change from her normal diplomatic meetings. They walked the long metal corridors, scanning ID badges and chatting about their favorite foods. Everything seemed normal, until they reached the engine room. Inside, the air was thick and humid. Jason's eyes caught a flicker of movement behind a storage crate. He motioned for Ziria to stay back, then crept forward. Suddenly, a small tool clattered to the ground, and a strange, lizard-like alien in a worker's uniform jumped out, trying to run. Jason was quick. He grabbed the alien by the arm. Ziria stepped forward, her voice calm and royal. "Who are you? Why are you here?" The alien looked scared. I was paid to put this device in the vents," he stammered, holding up a small, blinking box. Ziria took the device, turning it over in her hands. It was a listening device, designed to record private conversations. Someone wanted to spy on the humans, and maybe the Xilari too. Jason radioed security, and soon the alien was taken away. But the mystery was just beginning. Who hired him? Why spy on the summit? And how many other devices were hidden on the station? As the two walked back to their room, Ziria looked worried. "This could be a big problem," she said. "If the council finds out, it could ruin the summit." Jason nodded. "We can't tell anyone yet, not until we know more. But we'll figure it out, together." That night, Jason double-checked the locks on their door. Ziria carefully searched the room for bugs, using a glowing Xilari scanner. Both were tense, but felt a new sense of teamwork. They were no longer just roommates by accident. They were partners in a secret mission. Outside, the space station drifted silently among the stars. Inside, two unlikely friends prepared for whatever came next, knowing that the fate of the summit, and maybe even peace between their worlds, could depend on them. As Ziria dimmed her pillow for the night, and Jason lay awake, one thing was certain: trouble was brewing, and they would need each other more than ever. After the day's excitement, Jason and Ziria were both quiet as they got ready for bed. The room felt different now, as if it was holding a secret along with them. Jason checked under his bed one more time, just in case. Ziria sat cross-legged on her glowing pillow, her golden eyes thoughtful. As the lights dimmed, a heavy silence settled between them. Jason lay on his side, facing the wall, pretending to sleep. But he couldn't stop thinking about the listening device and the strange feeling that something big was coming. Finally, Ziria broke the silence. "Jason," she said softly, "do you ever feel out of place here?" Jason turned to look at her, surprised by her question. "All the time," he admitted with a small laugh. "I grew up on a farm in Texas. I never thought I'd end up on a space station, sharing a room with a princess from another planet." Ziria smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. "My family thinks I'm strange. I was always more interested in Earth stories than Xilari traditions. Some days I feel like I don't fit in anywhere." Jason sat up, propping himself on his elbow. "You know, you don't seem strange to me. You're brave. You try new things. Most people never even leave their home planet." Ziria's smile grew brighter. "You're kind, Jason. Not many people tell me what they really think. Most just want to impress me or stay out of trouble." Jason shrugged. I think you deserve honesty, even if I don't always know the right thing to say. The two laughed quietly, letting their worries fade for a moment. Ziria glanced at the chart on the wall. You missed your cleaning duty today, she teased. Jason grinned. Caught me. Maybe I can make up for it tomorrow with breakfast in bed. Ziria raised an eyebrow. I'm not sure about coffee in bed, but I would like to try those earth pancakes you mentioned. They both felt lighter, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from their hearts. The awkwardness of their first nights was gone. Now they felt like teammates, sharing a strange and important adventure. Before sleeping, Jason spoke one last time. Ziria, if anything else weird happens, or if you ever need help, you can count on me. She nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. And you can count on me, Jason. We are in this together. The space station was quiet as they drifted off to sleep, each feeling a little less alone. The troubles of the summit were still out there, and danger could come at any time. But for tonight, Jason and Ziria had found comfort in their unlikely friendship, a friendship built on honesty, laughter, and a shared promise in the darkness. That night, a quiet tension filled the space station. The corridor lights were dim. Most of the crew was asleep. Only the hum of machines and the gentle breathing of Jason and Ziria filled their small room. Suddenly, Ziria's eyes snapped open. She had heard a soft click near the door. Jason, who had always slept lightly, sat up too. Both listened. There it was again, a faint, metallic sound. Someone was trying to open their door. Jason jumped out of bed and grabbed his jacket. He motioned for Ziria to stay quiet. She nodded, reaching for a small device from her case. It looked like a glowing marble, but it was a auxiliary alarm. Without warning, the door slid open. Two masked figures rushed in, wearing dark uniforms with no badges. One lunged for Ziria, while the other aimed something at Jason. Jason reacted fast. He tackled the attacker, wrestling him to the ground. The other intruder tried to grab Ziria, but she pressed the marble in her hand. A flash of blue light filled the room, making the intruder stumble back, covering his eyes. Run, Jason shouted. Ziria dashed past the stunned attacker, grabbing Jason's arm as she went. The two burst out of the room and into the hallway. Alarms started to blare as the auxiliary device sent an emergency signal across the station. The masked figures chased them through the twisting corridors. Jason led the way, using his knowledge of the station's layout. Ziria kept pace, her long robe billowing behind her. They ducked into a service tunnel, barely a step ahead of their pursuers. Inside the tunnel, Ziria pulled out another alien gadget, a small round disc. She pressed it against the wall, and a holographic map appeared. This way, she said, pointing to a maintenance shaft. They crawled through the narrow space, hearts pounding. Jason could hear footsteps echoing behind them. At the end of the shaft, they dropped into a supply room. Jason quickly locked the door. They stood there, breathing hard, listening for any sign of the attackers. After a few minutes, it was quiet. Jason looked at Ziria, concern on his face. Are you okay? Ziria nodded, though she was still shaking a little. I am not hurt. Thank you for saving me. Jason gave a tired smile. You saved me too. That light trick was awesome. They shared a nervous laugh, feeling the strange sense of pride. They had worked as a team, and it had saved their lives. Suddenly, security officers arrived, responding to the alarm. Jason explained everything, and Ziria showed them the strange device. The officers promised to search the station for the intruders. That night, Ziria and Jason were given a safer room closer to the command center. As they settled in, Jason said, I guess sharing a bed with an alien princess isn't as boring as I thought. Ziria smiled, her eyes warm. Adventure finds us, Jason. We must be ready for anything. They went to sleep, side by side, knowing the real danger was still out there, but so was their courage, and their growing trust in each other. The next morning, news of the attack had already spread across the space station. Whispers filled the hallways. Some said the princess and the human soldier had fought off space pirates. Others wondered if it was an inside job. Cameras and curious faces followed Jason and Ziria everywhere. As they walked to the command center for questioning, Ziria noticed the change. Some alien leaders stared at her with concern, while others looked angry or suspicious. Jason kept his shoulders straight, but he could feel the tension in the air. Inside the command center, Earth's ambassador and the auxiliary high advisor were already arguing. The ambassador's face was red. This is an outrage. How did intruders get past security? The auxiliary advisor was just as upset. Princess Ziria was supposed to be safe in human quarters. Now our trust is broken. Jason and Ziria stepped forward to explain what had happened. They told the council about the listening device, the masked attackers, and the chase through the station. Jason described the uniforms and Ziria showed the council her alien gadgets. Some leaders believed them, others did not. One alien counselor slammed his fist on the table. This sounds like a story to hide human failure, or Silari tricks. Ziria spoke calmly but firmly. No one wants this summit to fail. We were attacked. Instead of blaming each other, we should find out who is really behind it. Jason nodded in agreement. If we don't work together, these attacks will keep happening. The ambassadors looked at each other, unsure. Tension hung in the air. Finally, the station's chief of security, a tall woman with gray hair, made her decision. We will increase security on all decks, she said. No one moves alone. And we will search for more hidden devices. But not everyone was satisfied. Rumors began to spread. Some auxiliary officers said Jason must have known about the attack. A few humans worried that the princess was drawing too much trouble to the human side of the station. Jason felt the pressure. Some of his fellow soldiers avoided him in the cafeteria. Ziria got strange looks from her own people. The easy friendship they had built now felt fragile, as if a single wrong step could ruin everything. That night, Jason and Ziria sat quietly in their new, safer room. Outside, 2 guards stood watch. Jason stared at the ceiling. I didn't think things would get so serious, he said softly. Ziria touched his shoulder. I am sorry, Jason. My world is full of politics and danger, but I am glad you are here. Jason smiled, tired but grateful. I'm glad too. Whatever happens, I'm with you. Together, they promised not to let rumors or fear break their trust. In a galaxy full of secrets and suspicion, they had each other. And maybe, just maybe, they could help their worlds find peace. As they prepared for bed, Jason joked, next time we make a bet, let's just play cards. Ziria laughed, the sound light and hopeful, even in the middle of so much uncertainty. Jason and Ziria barely slept that night. The stress of the investigation and the constant watch of the guards weighed on their minds. They missed their old, simple room, but now it was clear that nothing would be simple again. The next morning, Jason received a message on his communicator. It was short and strange. Trust no one. Meet me in Storage Bay 4. Jason showed it to Ziria. She frowned, golden eyes sharp. It could be a trap, she warned. Or it could be our only clue, Jason replied. They waited until the guards changed shifts, then quietly slipped away. Ziria led the way, using her small auxiliary scanner to avoid security cameras. The station was busy, but the further they went, the fewer people they saw. Storage Bay 4 was dark and cold, filled with metal crates. Suddenly, a voice whispered from the shadows. Here. Out stepped a auxiliary officer, someone Ziria recognized as a distant cousin, Commander Vec. He looked nervous, glancing over his shoulder. You are in danger, Vec said quietly. Someone powerful is working against the summit. They want the auxiliary and humans to fight. They planted the listening device and hired those attackers. But if anyone finds out I warned you, I will lose everything. "Why help us?" Jason asked. Vec's eyes were sad. "I believe in peace, not more war. But the real villain is closer than you think. You must leave. Now. They know you are getting close." Before they could ask more, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Vec shoved a small chip into Zuria's hand. "Evidence," he whispered, then slipped away into the shadows. Jason and Zuria hid behind crates as a group of armed guards searched the bay. They held their breath, waiting until the footsteps faded. Only then did they dare to move. Back in their room, Zuria plugged the chip into her translator device. It played a recording. A secret meeting between a high-ranking Xilari diplomat and a human security chief, planning the sabotage to blame the other side. Jason's heart pounded. "We have proof," he whispered. But before they could celebrate, the door burst open. This time, it was their own security, accusing them of sneaking around and planting fake evidence. "You're under arrest for disrupting the summit," the officer said coldly. Zuria and Jason exchanged a look. It was clear. Someone was framing them to keep the truth hidden. As the officers led them away, Zuria squeezed Jason's hand. "Don't give up," she whispered. Jason squeezed back. "Never." Even though they were against the odds, they knew the truth, and that meant hope was still alive. Together, they promised themselves they would not let their worlds fall into darkness, no matter how much danger they faced. The real fight for peace was only beginning. Jason and Zuria were taken to a cold, empty holding cell near the center of the station. The metal walls felt like they were closing in. Outside, guards walked past with serious faces. It was hard to believe that only days ago, Jason had worried about sharing a bed with a princess. Now, the whole galaxy seemed to be against them. For a while, they sat in silence. Jason tried to stay calm, but he could not hide the worry in his eyes. Zuria's face was brave, but she looked tired too. The chip with the secret recording was gone. The guards had taken it as evidence. It seemed like everything was lost. But Zuria was not ready to give up. She pulled out her small Xilari communicator, hidden inside her hair ornament. Quietly, she sent a message in her own language to a trusted friend on the Xilari Council. Jason watched in surprise. "Do you think anyone will believe us?" he whispered. Zuria looked at him, her eyes full of determination. "If just one person listens, maybe we still have a chance." Suddenly, there was shouting in the hallway. The door slid open, and a group of Xilari Council members entered, followed by the station's chief of security. Behind them stood Zuria's friend from the council, holding a tablet. "We received your message, Princess," her friend said. "Show us the evidence." The security chief hesitated, but the council insisted. They played the recording from the chip. The voices of the Xilari diplomat and the human security chief filled the room, plotting to ruin the summit. Everyone listened in shock. "This is serious," said the council leader. "Arrest those responsible. Immediately." The real villains were soon caught and taken away. The guards who had framed Jason and Zuria tried to run, but they were stopped by other soldiers. The truth was finally out. The news spread quickly across the station. Humans and Xilari alike began to cheer for Jason and Zuria, calling them heroes for their bravery and teamwork. The two friends stood side by side as the leaders of both worlds thanked them for saving the summit. Jason felt proud but humble. He looked at Zuria, amazed at everything they had done together. "I never thought my week would turn out like this," he joked. Zuria smiled, finally relaxed. "Nor did I, Jason, but I am glad I lost that bet." As peace was restored to the station, celebrations began. Both humans and Xilari danced, laughed, and ate together. The dark cloud of suspicion was gone. For the first time, Jason and Zuria felt truly at home, not just as a soldier and a princess, but as friends who had changed the galaxy for the better. They knew new challenges would come, but now they believed they could face anything as long as they stood together. After all the danger and excitement, the Galactic Summit finally ended in peace. The Axillary and humans had signed a new friendship treaty, and the space station was filled with music and laughter. For the first time in years, leaders from different planets shook hands and talked as friends. Jason and Ziria walked through the celebration together, accepting thanks and hugs from both humans and aliens. Everyone wanted to take photos with them. Jason felt shy, but Ziria enjoyed the attention, waving gracefully to the crowd. At the grand dinner, Ziria wore a dress made from shimmering blue silk, and Jason wore his best uniform. The food was a mix of Earth and Axillary dishes, spicy noodles, sweet fruits, and even a few of Jason's favorite pancakes, just for fun. When the music started, Ziria took Jason's hand. "You owe me a dance," she said with a mischievous smile. Jason blushed, but he couldn't say no. As they danced, people around them cheered. The two friends spun and laughed, finally free from the worries that had followed them all week. Later that night, when the party had quieted down, Jason and Ziria sat together by a window, looking out at the stars. The Earth and Axillary ships floated side by side, peaceful at last. Ziria sighed happily. "I never thought a simple bet would change so much." Jason nodded. "Me neither. I thought you would hate sharing a room with me." Ziria laughed. "You are messy and you snore too much, but you are also brave and honest. You are a true friend, Jason." He grinned. "You're not so bad yourself, princess. I guess we make a good team." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just watching the galaxy outside. Then Ziria turned to Jason, her eyes sparkling with a new idea. "How about a new bet?" she said, her voice playful. Jason raised an eyebrow. "What kind of bet?" "Whoever can unite our worlds faster gets to pick our next adventure," Ziria said. Jason laughed. "Are you sure you want to risk losing to a human again?" Ziria smiled, her royal pride shining. "This time, I am ready." They shook hands, sealing their new bet with a promise. Whatever happened next, they knew it would be another adventure, maybe even bigger than this one. As the party ended, Jason and Ziria walked back to their quarters. No longer strangers, no longer just soldier and princess, but true friends and partners. The stars outside seemed brighter than ever, as if the universe itself was cheering for them. And somewhere deep inside, both Jason and Ziria knew this was only the beginning of many more stories to come. In a galaxy full of uncertainty, they had each other. And that was more than enough.